Black man, he goes to work. He's falsely accused of bringing a gun. He's bullied. Put up the picture for a mask. I'm taking you to Illinois. Black man named Christopher Henson is suing the Flying Travel Center LLC, which operates the Pilot Flying J truck stops. Many of these truck stops are around the world, accusing the company of racial harassment, discrimination, and retaliation. In the 4 months Christopher Henson worked for Pilot as a maintenance worker, he was subjected to racial harassment by a supervisor and a coworker, including being called the N-word, according to a federal lawsuit obtained by Atlanta Black Star. Henson was also falsely accused of possessing a firearm and drugs while working his shifts. But both allegations were investigated and determined to be unfounded, the lawsuit filed last month states. After 3 months of harassment, discrimination, and false accusations, Henson requested a transfer within the truck stop company to allow him to work under different supervisors. But he ended up getting fired instead.
With millions watching and many people benefiting from this program called Indisputable, we just need 1% of the viewers to become a paid member so we can continue to bring this content to you. Now back to the show.
The lawsuit was filed on August 30th against Flying Travel Center LLC, the parent company of Pilot, accuses 2 employees as the main culprits in the racial harassment, including Henson's former supervisor, a white man named Nico Hardcastle, and a white employee named Bruce, last name unknown. But when Henson spoke to his supervisor about the harassment, that just made things worse. According to the lawsuit, which describes the harassment in the following paragraphs, by January 5th, 2024, plaintiff found himself being subjected to near constant derogatory racial slurs, such as the N-word, in the presence of managers who failed to intervene. On or about January 15th, 2024, plaintiff addressed the issue of racial discrimination with his manager over the phone. This protected activity of opposing discriminatory practices occurred after plaintiff was scheduled for work without adequate rest, a practice not applied to Caucasian colleagues. On or about the 3rd of February, 2024, false accusations were made against plaintiff, including the claim that he possessed a firearm on the premises. I thought these guys liked guns, which was thoroughly investigated and proven baseless. Throughout this period, plaintiff endured unfair treatment from certain team members. They're building a case against them, is what they're trying to do. This desperate treatment, targeting plaintiff's race, included being subjected to racial slurs and unjust disciplinary actions. On or about March 10th, 2024, plaintiff faced further unfounded allegations of involvement in drug-related activities. This pattern of fabricated accusations aimed at terminating plaintiff's employment specifically played on racial tropes of African Americans being dangerous criminals. Henson began working for the company November 7th, 2023, and was fired on March 27th. The harassment began in December 2023, he claims. When it became evident that things were not going to improve, Henson requested a transfer on March 21st with the expectation that it would take 3 weeks to complete the transfer, but he was fired less than a week later. Defendant's reasons for plaintiff's termination was pretextual for plaintiff opposing race discrimination and engaging in a protected activity. The lawsuit states, plaintiff met or exceed defendant's performance expectations during the entire duration of plaintiff's employment. The lawsuit was filed by Nathan C. Valhi from the Solomon Group at the United States District Court for the Northern District of Illinois, and accuses Pilot of racial discrimination, racial harassment, and retaliation. Henson is seeking back pay with interest, compensatory and punitive damages, meaning to punish them, obviously, for what they've done, and attorney fees. Atlanta Black Star did a great job with this reporting. Email Pilot Travel Center communications team seeking comment, but the email remains unanswered. Flying Travel Center is owned by Jimmy Haslam, who also owns the Cleveland Browns football team. In 2014, the owner agreed to pay a $92 million settlement to avoid prosecution over a scandal in which the company was accused of stealing $56 million from customers through a fraudulent scheme targeting rebates, the United States Department of Justice reported at the time. In the agreement, Pilot confirmed that fraudulent conduct involving diesel fuel price discounts was prevalent within its direct sales group and carried out with the knowledge and participation of employees responsible for the operation and oversight of direct sales. In other words, he committed a crime, massive fraud, should be in jail, but the government was like, just give us a cool 100 million instead. We'll just say it didn't happen. This is news to some. Many of these Pilot gas stations or truck stops are in really, really rural areas. When I would travel to Birmingham School of Law for law school, I would pass many of them, and they were open 25 hours. And you could go there. They always had a nice little restaurant sometimes next to them that was open as well. It's very convenient, but also culturally rural. Now, this is a big company, and the guy who owns it has deep pockets. We shall see where it goes. Thankfully, nobody was injured in this melee back and forth, but damn, that'll make you mad to come to work. Jordan, imagine going to work, man. You going to work, and all of a sudden you got a gun investigation, you got a drug investigation, and you're doing your job.
Nobody should have to deal with that at work.
Yeah.
He's going in, they're trying to be contributing members of society, just clocking in, clocking out, making a living for themselves. This is ridiculous. It's just totally biased. It's prejudicial based on just absurd, outdated racial stereotypes. But the other point that got me, and our producer Jordan got a chuckle when the name came up because we were talking about me being a Browns fan before we went live today. Just of course, Jimmy Haslam is involved in this story.
He's
of course,
involved.
his name comes up. It's just everything about being a Browns fan is miserable.
And I want to say this about the conduct of the alleged conduct of his coworkers. It seems as if they were okay with him being there as long as they could abuse him. So as long as he didn't complain about being called the N-word, as long as he did not put in the transfer to go to another facility, as long as he didn't talk about the racism, bigotry, and discrimination, they were okay with abusing him. But as soon as he spoke up for himself, that's when they needed him to go. The irony in that.